this computer. Okay, we're recording. Oh goodness. Fix your hair. Here we go. I'm kidding. Okay. We are going to open up in prayer because we're reading a book all about God. We definitely need to open up in prayer. So I'm going to lead us in prayer real quick. Dear God, we'd like to pray that you're with us in this time, Lord, and that you just open our hearts and our minds and that we can just share openly about you and the experiences we've had. And just with this whole being bold and praying bold. And we pray that we can just learn from this and can continue to grow in this book study and learn from each other. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right. So if y'all were like me, my little yellow matte pencil, probably burnt out because I was highlighting like no other. So I hope you guys took notes because I'm definitely going to call on y'all. So on chapter 1, Batterson shared about the legend of Honi. How do you pronounce it? Do y'all know?
I'm saying Honi in my head.
Honi. Okay, that works. Honi. That will work for me. What is one of the wildest answers to prayer that you have ever heard or experienced? I would love to hear y'all's. I have one too. So, who would like to go first?
Well, I'll start off.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny because I didn't realize it was a prayer until it was answered. My husband and I tried for years to have children. So I'm going to make this a very long story as short as possible.
You're okay.
We tried for years and we finally gave up. We went through a lot of infertility and then we decided we would go the adoption route. So we decided to adopt through China. We knew we would get a little girl. And so that was our prayer, or going to get this little girl. And we prayed for her all the time. And it was supposed to be a really quick process, 8 to 10 months. Well, it turned into 6 years. In that time, during my quiet times in the morning, I would be praying. Well, one day in particular, just out of the blue, God told me I was going to have a boy. And I was like, no, I'm going to have a little girl. Her name is Sarah. We had it all planned out. And I'm going to have a girl or a boy. And I had no clue what to name a boy. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to name a boy. So I had my Bible handy. So in the beginning, they list all of the books of the Bible. So I thought, well, let me just go through those and see if any names pop out that I liked. Well, I liked Samuel. I'd never read the book of Samuel. I don't know if any of you all have. Quickly, in case you haven't, it's about a woman who prays for a child. Hannah, she prays for a child from God for years. She's finally blessed with a son named Samuel. And so I was like, after I read that, I knew he had spoke to me. So on with the story. A couple of years go by. I'm like, okay, what's going on? No boy. I worked at a restaurant management company at the time, and I worked with the managers out in the field, different states, and they all knew we were adopting, whatnot. One day, the manager at the Memphis, Tennessee, called me and said that a girl that worked at the restaurant was not wanting to keep the baby. So, fast forward, we decided to move on with that plan. And when we met her, the day we met her, we went to Memphis to the adoption agency, and he brought along the picture, the sonogram picture, and nobody told us. They said, do you want us to tell you? And I said, well, no, because I already know the answer, what it is, but I want her to tell me. And so she said, it's a boy. And I said, I knew. And so I shared my story with her. She was also a Christian. It made her very happy. Long story short, we do have Samuel now. So he's 7 now. And we also have Sarah from China.
Wow.
So he answered, like I said, that prayer above and beyond. Our prayer for a daughter became a daughter and a son.
Oh my goodness.
That was.
Did you resonate with the Jessica story in here then?
I did.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, I sure did.
Oh, so good. Like goosebumps, Mine is not, you definitely had a God moment. Mine.
That was definitely, yes.
Oh, that's so powerful. And especially when you can realize like God was there that whole time.
Yeah.
And help giving you those footprints to like lead up to where you are now.
Right.
Oh, goodness. All right, ladies, do y'all have one? Do you want to share? If not, I can tell you mine. Mine's definitely not like.
I have one.
Yeah.
So when I was years ago with my ex-husband, he was very, very abusive. I grew up in a Christian home, and so I didn't believe in divorce. And that was something that I was really struggling with, that how could I reconcile the fact that I really felt like I needed to leave with knowing that God doesn't like divorce. So I struggled with that for a long time, and had been praying and praying. I think I've never prayed so much ever than when I was in that time. But things had gotten really bad. I was pregnant with my second kiddo, and he just was getting worse and worse. He was in the military, and there was like a lot of ugly stuff happening there, but it had kind of like reached a peak, and my dad passed away, and we were really, really close. And so I just felt like everything in my world was crumbling, and I was really alone and really missing my dad. And I never do this, but I just opened the Bible. I prayed, like, I don't even know what I'm praying for. I just need to feel that you're close. And I just opened the Bible randomly, and it was a verse that said, it was talking about separating the light from the darkness. And it says, separate yourself from the darkness. And then it said, and they will be my children, and I will be their father. And I had been missing my dad so bad. I just felt like that was such a God moment. And I kind of had said, okay, God is telling me that whatever is happening, he's going to be here for me. And then the very next day, I got confirmation that my ex was cheating on me, which sounds crazy that I would be excited about that. But I felt like God was showing me that it was like there was no way around it. It was okay for me to leave, and he was going to be with me. And now, I mean, talk about making a long story short. But now, all these years later, I am about to be celebrating 7 years with my beautiful, wonderful husband, and we've got 3 kids. I mean, that was the start of me finding what faith actually means. And God's just been, I love how he said in the book, he's been answering that prayer for all of these years, but that he would be with me, and that he's blessed us so big.
Background noise. Oh, Brianna, it was you. I unmuted you just for a minute. But that's so true. And then like I didn't realize when you were talking. So my husband was military too. He was in the military for 6 years and then was done. Well, we got married right out of high school, and something a lot of people don't do. I mean, they just don't. And we got married right out of high school just because his first orders were to Okinawa, Japan. And we were like, what are we going to do? And so that was honestly the hardest first year of our marriage of our life, because I'm away from everybody. We're just learning each other in a foreign land. And he worked nights, and he was ugly. I mean, I can say this because he knows he was. So it's not like I'm talking horrible about him, but he was very ugly, and it was the hardest year of our marriage. But in light of that, I felt like God was showing me that, and I could see a better him in a later, time frame. So we continued. I mean, we just celebrated 14 years, and again, a lot of that was because I kept seeing the good that was going to come out of him.
Right.
And that is definitely God. I worked hard. I mean, almost all these questions were our marriage. So if it wasn't for God, I would not be here. So anyway, I'm going to move on because we have like 5 chapters to do. And I definitely don't want to like miss out on some of these questions because they're so good. Okay. So chapter 2, Batterson states, bold prayers honor God, and God honors bold prayers. What makes a bold prayer? So for me, I wrote down like huge dreams and goals are huge, bold prayers for me because I feel like I'm selfish when I'm asking for them. So I'm more of the one like, Lord, thank you, for everything you've done for me and our family. Like I do those kind of prayers, not like, Lord, can I have this? Because then I feel selfish. I don't feel like honoring prayer. But after this book, oh my goodness, it's like he said that, where was it? That it looks bad when we don't pray those things. God isn't offended by your biggest dreams or boldest prayers. He's offended by anything less. And I was like, so I'm definitely learning in this and like figuring out how to be bolder in our prayers and going forward. So what? Okay. The other thing was, have you ever prayed a bold prayer and what was it? And do you feel like God is, or let's stop there. Have you ever prayed a bold prayer and what was it? Do you guys have a short, bold prayer that you ever asked for? Because I can guarantee mine was just the marriage, and that was the only biggest, boldest prayer I really asked for. Any of you? Elizabeth, I see that you're on, but I don't see you. I don't know if you've ever been on or not on Zoom, but no. If you see a little camcorder, you click on it, it's like start video, and then we can see you. We can see your bright and shining face.
Okay, let me see.
Yay! Awesome. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, we're talking about chapter 2 right now. So bold prayers. Have y'all ever asked for a huge bold prayer?
I feel like you said, I've never prayed like that just because I feel like, I'm just going to say thank you for the things that he's given me. And if he wants to give me more things, that's on him. And really, like, it makes me feel selfish for asking so specifically. But there too, where it says the more faith you have, the more specific your prayers will be. And the more specific your prayers are, the more glory God receives.
Mm-hmm. I know. Oh, man. Isn't that powerful? Like,
yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, I highlighted that too. That was really good.
I mean, literally this whole page, you can't see it, but I have it highlighted. And I couldn't stop because it's so true, because it makes me want to pray differently than I've ever prayed before. Especially, just 5 chapters in, I'm thinking, oh man, what's going to happen at the end? How is it going to transform my prayer life and even just my life with him? I thought we were BFFs, but now I'm really thinking we're going to be even stronger together. And so last night, the first time I've ever like really prayed on my knees in a really long time. And I really just prayed, and I prayed over my team, and I prayed over this, like these, like leading this and praying that like God would be there to help, guide us. And oh man, it was so powerful. And that you just get that peace over you when you just pray different. So
I love the terms that they use here: holy anticipation and holy confidence.
What page was that on?
I have it written down on page 23.
23.
Oh, I'm skipping ahead, so that's totally not chapter 1.
You're okay. It still goes with it though. All of this kind of correlates. It goes together in a lot. So the next question was, do you feel like God is for you, and what evidence do you have to justify your answer? So I'll share mine. I feel like God's for me. Like he's been with me my whole life. We grew up in a Christian family, but my parents were military too, so we moved a lot. So I feel like my faith is still a child's faith, just because everywhere we went, it was always something different. So I had to keep learning, and I don't feel like I ever really truly learned at all. We never do, but I have struggled with faith because of that, because of moving so much. But I feel like within that, God has shown me so much greatness and so much beauty throughout my life that why wouldn't we be together? Why wouldn't he be for me? So that's pretty much what I wrote. And then have you ever done a prayer walk? I haven't. I'm going to be honest. I haven't. Didn't even know it existed until this book. I knew about praying, but not actually doing a prayer walk. And then some of these were so in depth about praying for like the fasting and all of that, that mother, it's a different chapter, but what she did and things like I just haven't ever thought of doing. So what have you guys, do y'all have any notes on that?
Never done a prayer walk. But yeah, no, I was having a conversation with a friend this morning about the book and, about faith and coming, when you become a Christian. I was 12 and, but like you said, like you moving around, well, I think a lot of us, we go through, life stages. And then as we come through adulthood, and we start figuring things out, then, for me, like you, that's when I realized, yeah, I've believed in God since I was 12, but actually, sorry, baby's in the background, but actually understanding that he is for me and he is with me, it didn't happen until maybe even just a year ago.
Yeah.
This book is really powerful for me right now. So
isn't that crazy that God gives us exactly what we need at the right timing? I mean,
yeah.
Carissa came to me and I thought, oh my goodness, I have another book study and I have to lead it. What are you asking me to do? And because I love people, but again, me growing as a leader, this was out of my comfort zone. I'm like, I don't even know these people. They're going to think I'm crazy and all this stuff. But God is giving me way more than, obviously he knew that this was going to be huge for me. And it's so good. But my thing was kind of the same. Like I became a Christian at 16. Just because with my parents, that's what we did. You waited until you were an adult to realize like what it meant to be a Christian. And then at 16, I was like, oh yeah, to me, I felt like I was great in my faith. I honestly had lost a boyfriend to a tragic death. I then had met my husband and I was going through craziness. And I felt like God was still in the craziness, but he didn't, like you said, he didn't really show up until our marriage was crumbling. Like I really didn't see him more until I like really put everything in his hands. And that's when I did. I just laid it all out. And that was the one moment I remember that was like a triumphant moment for us and for me in my prayer life. Because then my prayers were different, but now I can only imagine what they're going to be like now after reading this. Like it's just going to be so different. Okay. I'm going to skip ahead because we're already 20 minutes in. It's going by too fast. Okay.
I would just really like to encourage everybody to do the prayer walk, though, because we do that with our kids in the car, though. We can't walk with all the kids, but we get in the car and pray over Nixa, and we'll like choose a neighborhood and drive through and take turns saying prayers on every street, driving through and praying for everybody, because our church is going through a transition period. And so we've lost some people, and we're really kind of trying to refocus on just loving people the way we're supposed to be loving people. And so we all go out and pray over the streets of Nixa. Not that they would just come to our church, but just that God would touch their lives. And it's amazing. It's really, really powerful. Our church is growing and the kids are seeing this, and it's been really powerful.
Oh my goodness. And there's so many things that you don't realize you could do with your kids until moments like this. You're like, I could do this with them. I could do so much more with them than just pray at the dinner table or just pray at the time. Those things that I feel like, okay, check. We did those with our kids, but I feel like something more like that just is even more powerful, and that they're going to see, like you said, they're seeing the results of their prayers. Like your church is starting to grow and other things are starting to transform because of it. So love it. Oh my goodness. I'm going to write that down in a minute because we have gymnastics. So we'll probably pray on the way. That'll be really good. We usually do our homeschool. So I homeschool, and thankfully they're upstairs, like being quiet. Cause I like warn them, like, don't come down here unless you're bleeding or in trouble or anyway. But we usually do we do classical conversations. So we sing in the car, but I might have to like fit in those times for that now. So good. Okay. So chapter 3, Batterson shares the story of Israel walking around Jericho. And then he asks, what is Jericho? By this, he is asking, what huge God-inspired thing are you praying for? Here comes the bold prayers, right? I mean, like, I didn't think about it, but for me, I have a crazy goal of hitting Emerald next month. That is our crazy team goal. And that is kind of a Jericho thing for me. It was the only thing that popped up that I felt like was a huge thing for me. Besides, we built a house out in the country, and financially trying to like figure out our finances and being able to pay our house off so that we can travel and do other things to like be with other people, so that they can see God's glory in us and that we can pass him, on. So I have a couple Jerichos, but that was the biggest one, was next month, just because it's so fresh, right now. So my Jericho moment might change in a couple weeks, who knows? But for me, that was mine. What is yours? Do you have any?
Well, I didn't have one until this morning. I started reading this chapter, and I realized that I had been praying for things, and then I have now been kind of taking them for granted. So my big prayer is to actually get back on track with those prayers. I prayed for these children. God gave them to me. I prayed to be a stay-at-home mom, and miraculously that happened. Mm-hmm. And then, so we've just been kind of going about our way. And now, well, as I've been taking Plexus products for 2.5 years now, and I've kind of done the business off and on. And I'll be honest, I don't really have a team yet after 2.5 years. I found myself looking for a job, and then I realized, well, God gave me the opportunity to stay at home. Maybe my Jericho is Plexus. Just that's what I need to start praying over more, my Plexus business. And because I love the products, or I wouldn't still be taking them 2.5 years later. But I really think mine is just to get my business started. Yeah. I mean, yours is Emerald, which is awesome. I can only imagine going for that. But right now I need to hit silver. So, just start the business.
No, I agree. And I have an amazing person that is on my team. Her name is Carol. And I think you and her would be like this, because she's been on the same journey with me the whole time. But I love her mindset, because she's like, I don't care if it takes me 5 years to get diamond. I'm fine with it. But obviously if it was quicker, it'd be better. And I think she's going to be doing this with us, this prayer circle. And it's going to be good for her too, because so she is a stay-at-home mom now. Had been. She homeschooled, and they actually fostered a child. Amazing family. But the same with you. She's silver. But I keep telling her, and she keeps telling me, like, I'm okay. This is my journey. And I think that more people need to hear that, because it's so hard to be like, but I want, gold by next month, or I want, this. And I have to realize, like, if Emerald does not come, I'm not going to be shattered about it. It's going to be okay. Emerald was a crazy goal for next month. But if it happens next year, I'm okay with it. But I'm going to realize that I'm going to be okay and not so selfish and praying bold prayers about it. So that's the crazy part.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I found out this morning. It's okay to pray those prayers.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And not feel guilty. Like, I always felt like this huge weight, when I asked for stuff. Because I always ask for others, like, Lord, this, child is in the hospital. Can you please help, heal him, or have the doctors, worship or be around him. Their hands are on the right place. Like those kind of things, but never like for me. It was always for others, because that's me. I'm a huge yellow. I think I always will be, but that is what God gave me. He gave me that talent. And so like, for me, it's really hard to be like, no, you need to like worry about you and what you want too. And we had a Ruby's retreat, and Lorelai, which if you don't know Lorelai, she's amazing.
Oh,
but they're like,
she's my direct upline.
Ah!
I love her.
love Lorelai. So
Yeah.
she asked me when we were there, she was like, but Cassie, what do you want? What do you want out of this business? And I'm like, huh? Like, it's always been about other people.
Right.
And so I've really had to have like a huge change in mindset too. Like, okay, I've got to think selfishly, in a lot of things, and not feel so bad about it.
Right.
Okay, let's keep going. Okay, Batterson also suggests that you don't just pray, but you also keep a prayer journal. Have you ever written out your prayers, and have you ever gone back to the prayer journal and see what God has been faithful with? And would you consider starting a prayer journal? Okay, 1, I did this several years ago where I did write down a couple of things. Well, like I stopped. I did like 3 or 4 things, and then I don't know where that journal is, and I don't know. But I think that in all of our journey, like to start today doing this, could you imagine like our prayer journal 2 years from now, what it might be filled with. So mine is, yes, I want to start a prayer journal, and I want to continue it and not stop, because that's my thing is I'm like, it's kind of like routine with Plexus. Like if you don't do it consistently, it's not going to happen. So I've got to get better at that. So what are your answers on that?
Yes, I would like to, but also too, there's supposedly one that goes with this book. I didn't realize. Does anybody else know about it?
I don't, but guess what? I'm going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on getting it and hopefully having it for next week.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm going to have to look at it tonight, because when I work is at night, so I'm on it. Because that would be huge. I would love it. Okay. Let's keep moving. So vague prayers are weak prayers because they miss the mark of actually inviting God into something specific. That's what you said earlier. What is an example of a vague prayer, and how can you become more specific in your prayers? I think we talked on this, but do y'all have any other topics or any touches on that?
I like what it says underneath that on page 27, yes, where it's talking about the vague prayers. And then it says, some of them were so vague that there was no way of knowing whether God answered them or not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I have felt that. And also about if instead of circling Jericho, we end up wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. That's not what I want.
No, me either. And just like we said earlier, like my prayers are always like, thank you, Lord, for giving us food, or like, in the vague prayers, sometimes I'm like, okay, Lord, I know you know who I'm thinking of, and I said I was going to pray for this person, but I forgot, and Lord, just, I hope you remember, and thank you, and, like a vague prayer, like I should have been more intentional on really realizing, like, what the prayer should be like, and being more involved in my prayer instead of just like nonchalantly like praying. So been trying to get better at that lately too, especially reading that. I think this one would be good for us. So he wrote out 3 statements that if achieved, he would consider his life successful. What would you identify as a statement or 2 that would define a successful life for you? Anybody? Oh, hang on, Elizabeth. There you go. You're muted.
One thing for me that will determine my life being successful, is to see all of my children become Christians. I've got a very vast age range. The oldest one is 19. The youngest one will be 2 the end of this month. And so, and there's 6 of them. Wow. But for me, it's to see all of them walk through faith. And that's a huge one. And my life will be successful when I see that happen. So,
oh man, I can definitely identify with that, because we homeschool not just because of the school system or anything like that. It's because I want them to know God on a different level than I ever did. Like I almost felt like I had to learn about God on my own in a way. And I want them to see God in a different light. And just being able to talk to them. And I don't know, there's all kinds of aspects to it. But for me, successful is being able to travel with my children and then them being able to be open to me. Because that's something I never really had with my mom. I never could be like, hey, Mom, I'm really going through this. Like I want them to feel like they can come and talk to me with anything. So like success can mean different for everybody. And definitely that's for me, because success is not really money or emerald or diamond or whatever for me. I mean, for us, it's more like traveling, being able to help others, being able to be financially okay that we can. Like, hey, this person needs $100 because I don't know what happened, but we can help them. You know, things like that are identify as success for me.
Yeah.
But okay, go ahead.
To be able to give more than what you receive.
Yes.
That is success.
Yes. And that's just like when he talked about the mission, like he didn't even have the money, but he gave, and then their church is, you know, getting a lot more from it now because he gave with faith and God would, you know, proceed and help with that.
Right.
So it's so true. And I think that for me, I need to do that more too. And just trusting God, like, here's my last $100. We're broke, but I know that you're going to come and help us no matter what. Like things that get to where it's like nitty gritty and trusting him through everything. Especially when I put something on my heart. We're going to go quick through 4 and 5 because I'm going to have to leave in about 10 minutes. Okay, so chapter 4. What comes to mind when you hear the statement, you are only one prayer away from a miracle? Anybody? Mine was not to give up. Goodness. Like, I think that for me, you know, if I'm only one prayer away from a miracle, why do I start or what do I stop so quickly in praying? Like, well, maybe that God just didn't want to have that prayer answered. So I'll try, you know, I'll just move on. But if I was only one prayer away from that being answered, you know, that's just us. I thought for me, I always give up, you know, way too quickly.
We were just talking about this at church, about how we do that, you know, our Wednesday night Bible study, and we were talking about prayer and how a lot of us really just don't know how to pray right because we put God in this box and we give him timetables, you know, and he said, our pastor was talking about how it's actually very biblical to keep praying about the same thing, and that some people stop praying. Well, they say, well, God just answered that and that was a no. But it's like it said in here, right? There's not an expiration date on a prayer. And so I really, really thought that was, I highlighted here where it says, refuse to move from the circle until God moves. You intercede until he intervenes. And I think it shows not giving up on prayer is actually the definition of faith, because you are believing that he is going to answer your prayer.
Yeah, praying through. I highlighted that every time it said that, like praying through, like going through it, you know, not giving up.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I highlighted is most of us don't get what we want because we don't know what we want. Here's our secondary problem. Most of us don't get what we want because we quit circling. We give up too easily. We give up too soon, and we quit praying right before the miracle happens.
And it says if they would have stopped circling after 12 round trips, they would have done a lot of walking for nothing. Yeah. How powerful is that?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, it's just like with your prayer, you know, for Nixa, you know, like there's no expiration. It's whenever God leads it on your heart that it's, you know, it's enough, or that's where you need, that's where it's ended or whatnot. Well, I think that the next question what makes a prayer a quality prayer? That one was harder for me, just because, not really harder. It's when I thought of quality prayer, I thought, well, more from the heart. It's more intentional. It's more time consuming. It's more of a quality prayer. It's one that I'm taking more time on. Do y'all agree? What do y'all think on that one? Same.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I think quality is when it's from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it's not just because, example, you know, I'm in Texas. I've got, and so with the hurricane and everything that's happened, you know, I am in one of the counties. We didn't have damage ourselves, but, you know, we've got a lot of friends and family. And so sometimes when tragedy strikes, it's almost like, if you don't stop and think about it, you'll pray about it, but it's not from your heart. You're praying about it because you think you should.
Right.
You know, because it's the thing to do. You know, oh my gosh, all these people in Southeast Texas are losing everything. We have to stop and pray. But are you really praying your prayers from your heart? So from the heart's a good prayer. Yeah. You know, that's the right prayer.
That's exactly what I wrote down. From the heart and intentional. And then it says, have you ever given up on prayer? I think there's a lot of times when I'm okay. I think we went over that. Like, yeah, God, you didn't want that to be answered. Let's move on, you know? And then, so with part 1, it says, nothing honors God more than a big dream that is way beyond our ability to accomplish. Do you agree with that? And why could it be true?
Because it's all about faith.
Yeah, I agree in it.
Oh, goodness.
Well, it says, I mean, the Bible says that his power is made perfect in weakness. Mm-hmm. You know, when that just leaves God all the room to shine and show up. And there's no way, like I think about, we talked about my church and we're going through this time of everything is changing and we lost our worship leader and our pastor came to me and asked me to lead worship. I have never done that before. I have no idea what I'm doing. I can sing and that's it. I can play no instruments. And worship every Sunday is a really big deal. But I felt like there was no one else stepping up. And I was, you know, he asked me and he had faith in me. So I was not going to let him down. But oh my goodness, did I not know what I was doing? And so that was a lot of prayer. And I got us through that. Well, really, God got us through this period of months where we didn't have anybody. And now we have got an amazing worship leader. But, you know, had I not said, okay, God is gonna get me through this somehow, you know, some sort of music is better than no music, I guess.
Yes.
And, you know, so I said, I'm just going to do it and God's going to help me. And it ended up being such a blessing to me because I never realized how beautiful it is for God to put these songs on my heart every week. And I can look out from the platform and see everybody who's being touched by these words and God's presence. And, you know, he let me be a little part of that. It was so humbling and such a blessing. But I had no idea what I was doing. And that was totally a God thing that it ended up being okay. I still can't believe I did that for months.
But isn't it crazy? Kind of like the things that we don't think we can, we obviously can. It's just putting ourselves in those situations to see what outcome comes out of it. And usually we don't fail. We think we fail, but God puts us in those situations so that we can move forward and be better. I mean, the Plexus one, I like people, but I hated leading. I definitely like to follow other people. That's just, it's harder for me. I'm not a red. And so it's hard. It's been a journey for me that God's like, you know, with this, like leading things that never would have done before, but it's been more humbling, like you said, and something that is definitely a God thing that's just been rewarding. Okay, let's get to 5 really quick. So Batterson writes, in order to experience a miracle, you have to take a risk. What is the risk you have taken that led to a miracle? And what is a risk you wish you would have taken? Is there a risk you are being called to take? So what about risks do you guys have right now? Anything? Well, so mine would definitely be, so the risk that we did take was when we moved here from Wichita, Kansas, because again, we moved a lot. My husband's military, but this is it. Our risk was either buying an older house and just traveling and doing stuff like that, or actually having our dream home built and on 8 acres. But we didn't know financially how we were going to do it. We built our house on a risk, and financially, God has definitely provided every time, like especially with Plexus, it just came in at the right time. And he has provided our house payment and everything. So that risk was huge for us. And no, but we have to go in a few minutes. And then the other one was, is there a risk you were called, or is there a risk you are being called to take? And, Mary, you just did all of that, with your worship thing. That was a huge risk for you. And you took it. And that was awesome. So like for me, the biggest, again, I wrote Emerald because that's a huge risk. I'm going to be a vulnerable leader and try to help my team as much as I can to have all of us get to those goals, not just me. Because again, I don't want it for just me. And then my other one is I wrote marriage, because our marriage, that was a huge risk for us to continue because we were crumbling. But I knew God had something better on the end. And it definitely has been full circle now. Do y'all have anything to add to those risks? Do y'all have any?
I don't have any risks per se right now, but something I wrote down it pertains to that. All the time, logic is screaming no, but faith is whispering yes.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
That's kind of, that's what I wrote that down from the book, but that's what it would take when you've got these big things and you're just not sure because, like I said, logic is screaming no, but faith is whispering. I like the fact that it says whispering because that still small voice inside your heart. So.
Well, I am trying to hit gold, and I have been trying to do that for the last 2 months, and I really thought I was going to get it last month. And, but I think it's risky to put yourself out there and say that out loud to your team, right? I'm trying to get us to be this team, for our team to go gold. And then everybody wants to know, did you hit it? And then you have to tell them no, but I know that God's going to answer that prayer eventually. I think that putting yourself out there and deciding that I've been trying to live my life with nothing to prove anymore. So just let God show up when he shows up. And then that's when he gets all the glory. And I know it's not me.
But I think that that's going to be huge for your team, is letting go and saying, no, we didn't hit our mark, but this is what we learned. This is what we learned from last month. So what can we do this month to make it better, and to have you hit silver and all of your other people hitting silver, so that it's just not you reaching, it's uplifting everybody.
Yes.
I think the beauty of it is we all learn something when we don't hit something. So verbalizing that to your team is going to be even better. You know what? It's okay. It's not the right timing. Guess what? It might be this month. It might be next month, but you guys are on this journey with me, and I appreciate and love you, and it's going to be great. So trust me, and I'm going to continue learning as a leader to help you. And that's with me, I never ever realized that I was going to be ever saying Emerald this quickly, but my team knows, I'm continuing to learn. I still am learning and being vulnerable with them, and thankfully they're still with me. So it's how I think the more transparent you are, the more your team appreciates you. So just being that with them, hey, we didn't hit it, and it's okay, because God has a different path for us. And you know what? Maybe we need to pray more. Maybe we need to pray bolder prayers. And
that's what I'm thinking.
Goodness, so good. Guys, we didn't even finish, and I really hate it, but I have to go because it takes me at least 25 minutes to get to gymnastics, and it starts at 2.
Do we want to start at 12:30 next week, maybe?
If y'all are okay with that, that would be great, but I'm okay however you guys.
I'm good with 12:30.
Okay.
I'm good with 12:30.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. We will touch base. We can talk on the chat or something too. I might even open up another one for the 1 o'clockers just so that we can talk a little bit more maybe too. Be a little bit more intimate. Because the next one, I think there's like 30. So y'all be praying for me. Thank y'all guys so much for being just cooperative and sharing. It's so huge when you share, especially on this. So.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's nice meeting you. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.